Ugh. Hey y'all, Boogie Night here. How's it going? Hope you had a fantastic Monday because tonight sucked. With Jesus Bro just being released a couple of weeks ago, Moerges and I decided to embark on a religious journey, as it were. Now, Jesus Bro is not a sponsor of my channel or anything like that. I'm just a really huge fan, and I cannot wait to watch it. For those of you who don't know about Jesus Bro, it is the biggest slap in the face to Christploitation films and filmmakers. So to lead up to the penultimate viewing and review of this movie, Moerges and I decided to pick several Christploitation films, watch them, and review them, because we're idiots, or we have high thresholds for pain, or we have nothing better to do with our days. Right? Possibly both. Anyway, but like Dante's Divine Comedy, this only has to start in hell, because that was what we spent 2 hours of our lives doing, walking through hell with God's Not Dead 2. Yes, there is a sequel to the first God's Not Dead, and it is much worse. Same plot as God's Not Dead 1, but on a much grander scale. And, oh my God, I don't even know where to begin with this movie. Horrible plot, disjointed, goes in so many directions by the end of it that I don't know who's coming or going, and frankly, I don't even think half the characters understood that to begin with. Disjointed as hell, characters are two-dimensional, paper thin, it wasn't even a valid argument, it was just two butthurt parties peeing on the third rail and waiting to see who gets electrocuted first. I know I should be noticing this is going to be a bad movie because it was made by Pureflix. And yes, a Pureflix film. The only 4 words you don't want to hear alongside "we need to talk" and "whose bra is this?" Just David A.R. White pulled out all the stops for this garbage. This was not even a film. This was a 2-hour-long victimization and propaganda piece that Dinesh D'Souza and James O'Keefe probably watched while stroking themselves and taking notes about their next big piece of shit. Okay. Let me just think. Okay, so I say this is like God's Not Dead 1, except on a much grander scale, because in God's Not Dead 1, you had the main character, I forget his name, so we're just going to call him Idiot, trying to debate the existence of God to his professor. This one basically goes all the way to the state court system over a teacher referencing Jesus in her class. Can you really see that would actually happen in real life? Now, okay, full-on disclaimer. Raised Catholic, not very good Catholic, went to a Jesuit university. My best friend in the world, Harkup 311, is an agnostic. My other good friend, Rafterman, is a bleeding heart atheist, and we get along. So let's just talk about religion for a second here. Everybody is allowed and is entitled to believe in the being that they choose to, or lack thereof. Whether you're Christian, Jewish, Hindu, Muslim, Buddhist, Confucianist, neo-pagan, or regular pagan, flying spaghetti monster, worshipper of great Cthulhu, agnostic, atheist, it does not matter. That is why it's called freedom of religion, not freedom from religion. That is a standard practice, not just on the Bill of Rights in the United States, but around the world. So when you turn a freedom of religion piece into a propaganda victimization round that makes no sense whatsoever, you just get me grumbling to myself, and no amount of riffing with Moerges on Discord could probably take away the pain I'm feeling right now. This was offensive as hell. I would rather watch Second Glance again than watch this piece of garbage movie. So let's begin. The main character, Melissa Joan Hart, whose name is Grace, by the way. Yes. Cue the film brain right now, because when I heard about all that, I literally just typed into Moerges symbolism, because that's all it is. She plays, so Grace is a high school, I think it was a history teacher. I see no reason why not. She references Jesus in answering a question to one of her students, comparing Jesus to Gandhi and Martin Luther King. Well, some other butthurt individual, yes, that's another word you're going to hear quite frequently, butthurt, because that's everybody was just pissing and moaning about every little thing one way or the other. So a butthurt student goes back to their parents, the parents complain, and unless Grace renounces her comment or apologizes and refrains from mentioning anything to Faith again, she's gonna get fired. Once again, freedom of religion, not freedom from religion, you dumb mook. I mean, I get it, PureFlix is only doing faith-based things, but they need to do their research before they actually write something that can be contested based on fact and not personal opinion. So she gets appointed a union attorney, played by Jesse Metcalf, or as Moerges called him, Diet Antonio Banderas, because that's what he looked like. And I swear to God, the man could probably win a court case just by saying he'll button up his shirt and then renounce it, because homeboy's got chest hair like you wouldn't believe. It was pretty interesting. Who is a non-believer, and right out of the gate, the sexual tension between Melissa Joan Hart and Jesse Metcalf, I mean, it was like, oh, just go in the back room and hump already. You'll be just doing us all a favor. That's all it was. They go to court to basically contest the fact that she was entitled to her own opinion, which she was. You're allowed to say that. I mean, don't get me wrong, keep your chocolate out of my peanut butter. I mean, we're not making Reese's here, but if a student voices her opinion and compares and says herself, the student, this was brought up on her own accord, not Melissa Joan Hart's character, saying, wouldn't it be comparable to Jesus? Yeah, okay, it's not like Melissa Joan Hart was thrusting a Bible into her hands like the Devil Wears Prada, picked up the Bible on stage at that Kentucky incident, which was hilarious, by the way, but I digress. She wasn't thrusting a Bible into her student's hand saying, you must read this, or shun the non-believer. Shun. She answered a question with her own voice. Maybe she shouldn't have talked about Jesus, but if it was broached, then she should be allowed to broach it back. This gets taken all the way to the Supreme Court, and the prosecutors assign, wait for it, Ray Wise. At this point, my heart just kind of I think it just crapped at my heart. Because, Ray Wise, what the hell are you doing, man? You had such an amazing role as Don Hollenbeck in Good Night and Good Luck. A lot of your other roles were fantastic. Why did you essentially play Lucifer in this movie? Because that's what he was. Oh, and by the way, his name was Cain. Symbolism. I mean, I was waiting for Jesse Metcalf's character to be named Abel because that's all it was. The guy was just straight up acting like the devil in this whole movie. There is one scene before they go to court when Ray Wise's character actually says, in this maniacal fashion, we're gonna prove that God is dead. We're not talking about if the existence of God is going on or not. We're talking about a teacher and her opinion that got taken way out of whack, and now you're actually acting like, oh yes. I mean, he essentially was a creepy Nosferatu like Count Orlok. And that's where the movie really hits the road. Serious Sam 3 style, because it just escalates across the board. It's just, you have characters of every which way and every out of whack being interviewed and be like, oh, well, like they're like one of the first people was like, oh, she's a Christian. She's a Christian. She wouldn't, she was, one of the actual lines was, I don't think she would chew a stick of gum without praying first. And of course, the prosecutors are eating this up like candy. And then in walks Jesse Metcalf. I think his name was Tom. I'm just going to call him Jesse Metcalf. Screw it. Basically fires back like, did she pray with you? No. Have you seen her pray? No. Has she ever offered Christ into your life? No. Has she done this? No. Then why the hell did you bring it up if there was no evidence? Once again, straight up victimization. It's just... I know I shouldn't be just completely going off the rails for this, but seriously, just do your damn research before you do this. I mean, if you... I don't even know where to begin, guys. I am so... I need a drink. That's what it comes down to. Just all these people that Ray Wise is bringing up to the stand are basically just bashing the fact that she's a Christian. It didn't go into a court study about her talking about history or her bringing up characters or the context and concept of why she was in court to begin with. This was basically, damn Christians just voicing their opinions without anybody wanting them. Praise God, pass the ammunition. And then on the other side, on the Christian side, they're all like, oh, woe is me because I can't practice religion. Well, there is a scene when local, I guess, priests and preachers were getting their sermons over the past 100-something days subpoenaed by the court. Like that would ever be possible. Now, is this just something that's done in the small town, or is it something being escalated? Because if it's only happening in this one town, then it would eventually escalate into a nationwide thing. Oh, and by the way, the preacher that actually says that you need to turn your sermons was played by Fred Thompson. Yeah, not biased at all. Are you, movie? But by the end of the movie, when Jesse Metcalfe is giving his closing speech, it turns into something from If Footmen Tire You, saying that people who believe in God and Jesus will be exploited via execution. He's implying the fact that if you believe in a higher power, namely God or Jesus, he mentions nothing of Yahweh or Muhammad or Buddha or whatever other religion, or even if you're atheist, if you don't believe in Christianity alone, one of his words is something about you will be persecuted and something related to being at the end of a gun. Did I miss something here? How is religious freedom going to get exploited to a level like when Hitler persecuted the Jews and forced them to wear armbands and put them into a concentration camp? How is this relevant to a teacher's argument about making a random comment during answering a student's question? It doesn't. It's just, once again, I'm going back to Estes Perkle because if you've ever read If Footmen Tire You, What Would Horses Do, or seen his 100-minute long rambling session about how unless you pray, you're going to get killed by them pinko commies, pretty much the bulk of that movie. You're going to get persecuted, you're going to be locked up, you have to renounce this. I mean, this basically turns into the agony in the garden when Peter's being questioned, aren't you a follower of Jesus? And he denies it 3 times. Or doubting Thomas, I won't believe it until I see it. This is why it's called faith. Faith is a concept when you are running on believing in something with no actual physical or tangible evidence. If there were facts to back it up, it would not be faith, it would be fact. But like hypotheses and theories, well thought out, well timed, well researched, but still nothing 100% to point to one verdict or the other. But literally, that was Jesse Metcalfe's closing argument to the jury. Oh, and by the way, at the beginning, he's just kind of a shoddy-looking moo, kind of like me. By the end of it, he's dressed up in a full-blown suit with the vest to actually mirror Ray Wise's character. And all throughout the movie, they're bringing back characters from from The Last God's Not Dead. Timid Asian dude who's now going on to be a full-on preacher and runs into issues with his father to the point that the father actually slaps him and says, "You're no longer my son." And frankly, I was actually hoping Timid Asian dude's dad would actually do the Jewish approach and tear the Kriya to be like, "My son is dead," because that would have tied back into the title God's Not Dead too. Or the reporter who had cancer in the first one, and now she's in remission. Oh, and don't worry, she still talks to the newsboys. They still have a grand old time. She begins to question her faith, but that is never touched upon in the rest of the movie. And of course, you have David A.R. White as the goofy preacher and his hilarious black psychic. I wanted to see more of them because it really was a little bit of some shenanigans. I mean, there's like, in the beginning, David A.R. White trips over a stool. Yeah, that's like me before I buy coffee. Coffee spilled on him. He has an appendectomy halfway through the trial while he's on the jury board just to get out of it. But his sidekick is hilarious just because you can't help but smile at some of his stuff because he just has this goofy approach like, oh, God's got a plan for you. God's doing his work. Why? Because you spilled coffee on yourself and you had a lousy day at the office? How is that related to what doing God's work is? And once again, you have the Newsboys. Michael Tate, don't do me dirty like this, bro. You should have stuck in DC Talk. It just ties everything together, like just cameos, like one-offs that have nothing to do with the theme of the movie. And of course, at the very end, when Grace's character actually wins the case, surprise, surprise, like any Pure Flix film, Jesus triumphs. Even though, once again, this was not supposed to be aimed at taking down religion, this was why am I even bothering to try and analyze the situation even more than I should? It just makes my brain hurt even more. Mark Jacko Jackson style, me brain hurts. They win their case, and all throughout the movie, there are protesters, saying like, don't silence me, you need to have faith, God's not dead, say it with me. The student, not even Melissa Joan Hart's character, goes running down the steps of the court. By the way, she randomly showed up to testify, and it really blew up in her face. Good job there. Literally shouts out, God's not dead, he is truly alive. How does this... But it goes back to like the first one, and ending saying, join the movement... Text all your friends, God's not dead, he is truly alive. And I texted that to Harkup just because I know, and of course, we had a grand old time laughing about it. This movie, and also after that, I turned this off right when the credits rolled. Moerges actually pointed out that there were some websites based on factual appearances in the movie, even though this movie was a piece of fiction. Well, it was a piece of something, that much for sure. About how you can get information on these things. Yes. Actual hard-earned facts. I'm sorry. Didn't Edward R. Murrow already drive this point home during the Red Scare and McCarthy era? Everyone's entitled to having a matter of faith. Oh my god, I just quoted a Cristiano Brothers movie. Please shoot me now. But when a movie is just basically he said, she said, finger pointing, and a pissing contest. I mean, seriously, at the end of it, I thought Jesse Metcalf and Ray Wise were going to whip their dicks out and be like, whose is bigger? That's a matter of faith, guys. I don't even know. This was not done right. This was not researched. I couldn't even call this a decent Christploitation film. And I'm sure there are decent Christploitation films out there. But this was hideous. Nobody thought it through. It was nothing more than a 2-hour opinion piece, and overall, not worth it. Save your money. No, I take it back. Watch this movie. I want to see Pure Flix release more shit for me to go off the rails on, alright? I can't even call this a faith piece. I can't. Other than just name-dropping God and Jesus, this was not a faith piece. This was just morons running around like idiots. That's being redundant, I apologize. But anyway, I'm hoping that the next review will be much better than this. Hopefully. But we can always have faith. But anyways, it's been a long day. So with that in mind, you'll have a great evening, and I'll catch you on the flip side, alright? Peace.